What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your Star Citizen Week in Review for February 16th, 2026. 4.6 gets its first mid-patch update with new missions that just aren't hitting for me, but the new ship could be a hit if they fix some issues with it, and 4.7, we got a roadmap for it, and it gives some insights in what to expect this entire year. All that and more on today's Week in Review. And as always, if this is your first week in review, this is where I take all of the official Star Citizen news each week, put it into one video, and share some of my opinions about it. I also live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/SaltEMike. So stop by and say hi if you haven't yet. I always enjoy seeing you guys over there. Now, we don't have a sponsor this week, so if you guys are really enjoying the show, first off, just get subscribed. It goes a long way to helping out the channel. And with that, let's get to the patch notes. All right, so we had nothing on Monday or Tuesday, so we start on Wednesday with Hotfix Central. We had an update to where the industrial missions were added along with the Moth. More on that in just a second. They fixed how strong the new med gun was that we got from Alliance Aid, as well as some bugs with the Shiv and some crash fixes. The next day, we got more hotfixes for a number of desync issues, and in my experience, the servers felt a little bit more stable. Now, for the industrial missions that were added, the changes from the PTU is that they actually do have some reputation involved, but not in the way that players need at the moment. It simply just asks for more ore or salvage in order to complete for more pay. What they really need is rewards for building rep with these companies. It's not a big deal to grind mindlessly in an MMO. It's what MMOs are. It just sucks when there's no purpose for doing it. Money doesn't matter yet in Star Citizen, so my experience with these are quite limited for now because I just can't enjoy them at the moment. But I can see the future of these missions being really bright if they just reward them correctly. Now, we also had a launcher update. This one's kind of an interesting one, or a different one. They allow you to enable or disable VR capabilities right in that menu of the launcher. So it's just under game settings, and you will see the little icon when it's enabled. Link for the launcher notes will be in the description. And then we had a free fly. So along with all these updates, yeah, you could fly for free, but the ships you get are different than most of the free flies we've had. You get a mole, a salvation, a golem, an arrow, and a shiv. So really industry focused with a bit of combat. I hear some people aren't even getting the ships. So if you have an account, it should be automatic, but there might be some issues around it. All right, and jumping right into Roadmap Roundup, we start out with the updates to the 4.6 cards, and they added the new industrial missions. And I know I'm nitpicky, but they can't even standardize what to call them. Here they call them resource gathering missions. So if they can't even figure out what they are, it probably makes sense that they're not that fun at the moment. The Argo Moth now has a card, and the new light medical armor as well that we got from the Alliance Aid rewards. And now for 4.7 cards, there is a new faction, the Claw Salamanders gang, another meaningless gang until they are, there's actual differences when encountering different enemies. So this card was just to add some concept art for them. Heavy combat armor also now has a visual. Looks like the 2023 demo armor that we saw there. And then light combat armor also has a visual update added, and it looks like the old shipjacker armors that you saw in the 890 jump missions. So yeah, the dates typically don't matter in the progress tracker, but this time you can kind of use them since CIG has specific dates that they're going to drop their patches, and kind of telling us when they're targeting a release for some of the content here. So crafting and inventory finish on the tracker right when we should expect 4.7. The command module ends around Invictus, when that should drop, and we expect to see the Ironclad then, so that makes sense. And FPS radar and scanning falls on that date as well. This one can be less reliable, right? Because there's no discussion around FPS radar and scanning and when that should fall into a patch. And then July, we see what should be 4.8 with instancing work ending. So, and yeah, the least reliable date here is the ship hangar landing service, which appears to be set to drop on the 29th, but unlikely to drop with the big mission revealed at CitizenCon 2025, as that tech is being built for it. They showed that last at CitizenCon 2025. That will probably be towards the end of the year is my guess, but we'll have to see. That was roadmap updates, pretty small, but somewhat impactful on when to expect things. Let's move on to video updates where we talk about the Argo Moth. All right, and like every behind the ships, they have to explain what the ship is and what it does, but this clip has a little extra information about crafting, potentially.
The Argo Moth is the long-awaited, much-requested medium salvager for Star Citizen.
It's supposed to fill the gaps between our small single-siege salvage ships, such as the Vulture and the Salvation, and the massive Aegis Reclaimer.
Small salvage ships, they produce rubble. The large one, like the Reclaimer, they produce construction material salvage. And the medium ship, we create construction material pieces. The refining time for the rubble is the fastest. For the pieces, it's like in the medium part, whereas for the salvage, it's like the longest refining times it will take. For crafting, the difference between the three different construction material raw versions of it will be that basically retaining the quality of the material.
So they think it fills the gaps, but I think this ship might be the meta. The only difference is this rubble, pieces, and salvage stuff. We know about the refining differences as they're currently in the game, but retaining the quality is an interesting bit of information that will likely also apply to mining, refining for mining as well. We had no clue about this at this point, as salvage was not part of the first crafting playtest. It is interesting, but we'll have to see when it's in our hands if it's enjoyable or if it's fun. The next clip is, well, a little fun. It's to get a laugh a little bit, because if I didn't laugh, I would cry.
Sometimes you don't need to reinvent the wheel, and we thought that building on top of the mole to make the Moth made perfect sense. The mole is successful as a mining ship, particularly multi-crew wise, due to the fact that it has all those turrets that can cover pretty much the entire 360 degrees under the ship as well as around it. It's not completely full coverage, but it's pretty good. And the turrets have freedom of movement to really mine anywhere. And that really lends itself to salvage as well, which shares a lot of that sort of similar mechanics.
So first off, the company that has tried to reinvent the wheel with a literal triangle for nearly every gameplay system just said that you don't need to reinvent the wheel, which is just comedy to start out with, which is, oh, it's glorious. What is really sad, though, is the lack of understanding that neither the mole or the Moth are successful for the reasons stated about the turrets. They both have range limits with mining lasers and salvage lasers that are significantly limiting. So you have to get super close to the items that you're trying to mine or salvage. And the range is not 360 at all. Most rocks for the mole are just long distance, right? They're even in clusters, they're too far away between a rock that you might want to mine. So yeah, luckily for the salvage stuff, you can use a tractor beam and that might be functional, but who knows if it can reach. So yeah, they're super far away and you just can't really use the lasers at the same time on different targets. So everybody uses the mole on the same target to give benefits, right? Or something like that. Not to mention the HUD bugs with these ships, or at least the mole, when you are targeting two different targets. So yeah, know your game, please, before you talk about it, because that's very frustrating. Now, enough negatives. The next part is 100% awesome.
So getting the opportunity to revisit it with the lessons we've learned and put some new life into it with a slightly different role and slightly different purpose was really exciting.
And this allows us to iterate more easily on our current ships that are going out. But it also means that we can take some of those improvements and changes back to those original ships later down the line.
This simply implies that the mole is going to get some of these improvements and that they do most of these, including the cargo grid on it. That would make me so happy. It would massively improve on the mole. I would argue the pilot seat in the mole should get a laser even. It is what it is at this point. Back to the team not understanding their gameplay, though.
It takes a crew of 4, so far fewer than you need for the Reclaimer, but it actually gives you some multiplayer gameplay as opposed to the Vulture. All 4 of those players will be able to take part in the salvage gameplay loop. We have 3 manned turrets, each with a size 2 salvage head. And the pilot gets access to the main structural salvage crusher.
Can this ship be operated solo?
Yeah, like all our ships, it can be operated solo. But if you operate a ship solo of a certain size, you get some downsides to it.
It would just be a lot of dancing around between the different seats. But at the same time, you're also going to be saving some time because you're going to be able to carry a lot more. So you're going to have less trips back and forth.
So to the guy who said this takes less crew than the Reclaimer, it kind of takes one more. Since salvage is really safe, you don't need turrets, right? So you're not going to be manning turrets in the Reclaimer plus manning turrets in the Reclaimer is absolute cancer. If you know, you know. The buffer is massive, so you don't have to even empty that often on the Reclaimer. So yeah, it has one less RMC laser. So in the end, the Moth has more essential crew if you're going to run it. They 100% get that most players will use the Moth as a solo ship and recognize some of the dancing that you have to do, but it likely will work just fine because of the cargo. So to all these discussions around what makes the Moth sit in the middle, it sits in front because it has enough cargo to do so, and it's not a pain to use like the Reclaimer. So this will 100% be the best ship until the Reclaimer changes. And that's where we move into next.
The belly of the ship has changed quite a lot. We've now got this large split cargo grid that is in a vertical orientation. So when the salvage material is rejected out, it flows straight onto this large cargo grid that kind of takes up the majority of the belly of the ship.
One of the improvements over the Mole chassis is the fact that the cargo grids are just normal cargo grids. Whilst the salvage output does automatically eject onto them and it does use standardized 8 SCU crates, there's nothing to stop you putting any other cargo compatible item on those cargo grids.
The rear of the ship has a really nice cargo lift for 2 16 SCU containers. So you can get a bit of hauling gameplay in there as well.
I absolutely love everything about the cargo grid. I love that it's vertical. I love that you get the extra cargo, even though it's really hard to work with. It's too tight, and I showed this in my video on this channel, actually. I made an actual ship review video on this channel. Check it out if you haven't yet, so we'll go into more detail on the Moth and my feelings about it. They have thrusters in the way, so you can't even get boxes out. But this is a game changer for the ship. Just period. 288 SCU in a salvage ship that is accessible from the outside just makes this ship better than every other salvage ship in the game. Nothing will beat it when the bugs with it are resolved. More on that in the other updates section, where we'll head to next. All right, and as always, we start out with a sneak peek. This one seems pretty obvious that it's a sneak related to Lunar New Year, but I seriously doubt this is anything related to anything in the game other than a sub-flare or a monthly pack that they want to sell related to the holiday. Just a note, Lunar New Year starts tomorrow on the 17th, but I don't think we'll see these changes come into the game then, but maybe. We'll have to see. Coramor is, unlike most years, this is usually like a little in-game event. I think they did that the last 2 years. You simply celebrate this one by giving CIG as much money as you can for pink stuff. Right away, the post mentions the free fly that we discussed earlier. Then the limited ship, the Hornet Mark II Heartseeker, is available with the bespoke gun, which might be better now with ballistics being kind of the meta. Then they share pink paints for salvage ships, since this patch is more focused on salvage. There is a community contest to tell the story on how you met Star Citizen and how you fell in love with it, which is just weird. And then the last thing before we get to the store is they share the referral reward with the free fly, and then, of course, the store. So we get to the insane number of things that you could buy during this event. I never realized how much pink stuff we have, as I mostly go for black with my style. I like just black ships. I don't know. Monthly bundle, there is more stuff to buy. That's pink. The monthly bundle includes a vulture paint, that throbbing heart armor that we saw on ISC a few weeks ago, and a pink Cambio salvage tool, all for the price of Foxhole right now. Make it make sense. That's crazy. Now for the Moth sale. Yeah, the sale page has all the useful images and lore stuff, and we already discussed the ship a ton, so let's just talk about the paints, which is, I think the offering's okay. The sundial paint is very cool because it's kind of metallic take It's a metallic take on the Argo paint. I would love to see these on more Argo ships, to be honest. And I love the idea of black spaceships, like I said earlier. So I went with the Rockwell on mine. Next is the price. You thought the bundle was pricey. This ship is crazy, but it's right in line with the price of the mold. So it makes sense from that standpoint. They have set the market and it works. It's $290 war bond, which is if you use new money, if you're not aware of what war bond is, and $315 if you decide to use any store credit. At the moment, it's hard to recommend this as a buy. I might even argue everyone to boycott this sale a bit, not to hurt CIG, but it's all you have, right? CIG rushed this ship out. They didn't test it, and every gameplay loop it has struggles with critical bugs. That is not okay. But as I said in my video around the ship on this channel, if they fix them, this ship is the best salvager, especially for RMC. So all they have to do is get that fixed. With that said, they have made sure that they are now aware of these issues with the Moth. The issue council report here is about buffer size, which is one of the issues, but in the replies, the second one, they also mentioned knowing this other issue that is related to RMC collection. So being aware of it just now, or talking about being aware of it now, is not okay. Do better. Like always, CIG, do better, but we know you won't. Moth, question and answer thread, or just post. The first question is why the Moth over other ships, and they call it a mid-ground. And as you move from smaller ships to this, I'm not going to harp on how bad I think the ship progression ideas are, as I likely posted a quite long video on the TV channel. I actually did on Saturday night, so check that out. I don't think there'll be another video on the channel, so it'll be the most recent upload. I speak on what I think ship progression should be. I don't think there should be progression at all, to be honest, other than kind of crafting and making the current ship that you have better. But yeah, I would love to see this play a role while the smaller salvage ships have their own role. So I hate this answer. I absolutely hate it. Next, I'm sharing with you something that you likely already know, but there is a bug with the ship that says the buffer's 32 SCU. That meant 32 SCU per side. So they mentioned that here, that there should be 64, and it should be 228 SCU in total, which is just pointing out how much SCU this ship actually has, which again is amazing. So that is, like, I've already said it, but we need to harp on it. Lastly, they let us know the largest ships it can break is a 600i or a Starfarer, which is huge, but not the really big stuff. That's Reclaimer only still. As always, there were a lot more questions asked and answered, so if you want to see them all, the link for the QA is in the description, along with all the other sources for today's show. So leave a like if you appreciate that I do that detail for you guys, because it does take a long time. But that is time for Week in Review. We are done. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Yeah, again, to me, I think a lot of people are upset about the current state of industry missions because they just don't feel meaningful. It doesn't take a lot to make them meaningful. It takes reputation rewards. They know this. They spoke about it at CitizenCon 2023. That's good. The Moth, a lot of people are upset about how it launched. If they fix it, nobody's going to be upset. So it just takes them doing a little bit better, paying attention to the details, and things are going to be okay. Again, I've played tons of MMOs. These industry missions are perfect for reputation-based rewards. They just are. It's just a matter of time for them to do it. But I don't understand why we haven't focused on reputation. Again, they talked about that being really important in 2023. It's 2026. With that, guys, again, Week in Review. Thank you so much for watching. Hit a like if you enjoyed the video. Hit subscribe if you want more Weeks in Review. And hang out. Check it out. Check out other videos on the channel. Check out that one I did about the Moth. I don't usually do those, and people seem to like it. And with that, guys, I will catch you guys next week.